Hey guys, Stealth here and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. It has been a long time since I covered a mudfight match, but this one is quite interesting. It's a 60-minute game, 5,000 points to get, and that is destruction points. 10v10, tactical, so limited amount of income, and thereby you have to be really careful with your units, otherwise you might not be able to afford another one for a pretty long time. And of course that also gets impacted by how much terrain your faction, your team is able to conquer. Usually, mudfight, that is if you have spent more time watching this channel or playing this map, it's usually armored warfare happening between Foxtrot and Charlie. Lots more infantry warfare happening in Alpha and the forest surrounding it. Delta, usually not too much, well maybe a bit early game, when people are trying to capture either the town over here or the town over there. But beyond that, well, there's rarely a push coming through the middle here in Delta. Now, in today's video, sent in by Cheems on Red 4, it is gonna come down to the wire. And it's gonna make for an interesting gameplay, or at least I hope so. Let's see what Red's deploying. We have a couple of M84ANs from Nordy going to the, well, I'm gonna say left flank, let's say the Foxtrot flank. Backed up by a command tank, some NTR, and a resupply tank, or a resupply unit. Over to the right, two Modernas, no less, from Soft Knife. BTRDs from Cheems himself, so the guy who sent it in. NTR Infantry, Recon. And they're gonna flank. Okay. Griffith is gonna flank. We have the Sudanese People's Liberation Army. And Griffith. Alright then. These guys, by the way, are the cause for naming the video as it is, which will all become apparent later. Now, considering what I'm seeing over here, it's going to be rough for Red 4, because Red 4 currently does not have a lot of frontline units. Sure, they have their armor, yes, they have their infantry over here, they have some units going towards the town here, or maybe even beyond that, and they have a 50-52 duo, so spotter and killer, which of course are also capable of dealing with radar-guided NTR. Blue 4 opens up with a salvo from, I believe, Mar 290s, and immediately almost wipes out a command infantry unit from Cheems. On top of that, quite a few transports got destroyed, and probably some more, like infantry inside those transports. So that severely decimates the amount of forces that Red 4 already had going here. Well, there wasn't that much to begin with, but this is what's left. The 50-52 duo is engaging motorized units, and they don't have a lot of time to do that, because the Chaparral is quite annoyed with that transgression. The Akula gets hit once, pulls back. Gotta keep outside of the range of that Chaparral. And there are a couple of Rolands out there, but if they activate their radar, then the KA-52 is gonna have an opinion on that and will take them out. Over on the left flank, Foxtrot side, M84As, M84AN pushing forward. But Blue is out in force. They have their Merkava 3D Baz over there and their M1A2. And they are going to, well, they're going to pretty much roll over Red 4, considering the amount of forces that they have over here. And, well, at this range, I suppose they might be able to do something against the Merkava, but it's just a lot of firepower. Blue 4 not executing a flanking maneuver, as opposed to Hannibal and the Elephants over here. They're deploying a lot of firepower here. You got the Merkava, you got the M1AP, you got the M1A2. There's pretty much nothing standing in the way. Yeah, sure, there's a bit of leichte Schützen, but really, the Metis is not going to be doing a whole lot of useful stuff against the Abrams. If it hits. And that's something that the Metis is not particularly great at. And on top of that, Werwolfzug's forces have nowhere to go. They've been detected, they're getting shelled by the quad stack of mortars here, there's 4 more over there, there's 2 Leish over there, even an LAVM. Blue 4 apparently really likes their artillery. And so far, to their credit, it seems to be working. Because Red 4 is on the run. Leichte Schützen are almost gone, and M84A is limping back to base. Another M84A is in an even worse condition, and the command tank is about half health. But being a command tank, it is a valuable asset that you really do not want to lose. That means that there's very little stopping Blue 4 from pushing. Let's see if we're doing any better on the right flank. Over here we have VDV engaging Martyrs, Panzer Grenadiers. The Rolands are also moving in. I'm not really too sure why. Maybe Blue 4 is concerned about an airstrike. And maybe these guys are going to be doing something about that. But that's always a bit of a problem with the airstrikes. The Rolands, while definitely adequate anti-air units, can only intervene after the airstrike has already launched. After the Panzer Grenadiers have been hit by any potential airstrike. That's when they might shoot it down. So the aircraft cannot come in again, but they don't work proactively. They don't make sure that the infantry doesn't get hit at all. Hannibal is still taking his elephants all over the Alps over here. There are a lot of forces working on this flanking maneuver. Pretty much all elite, I think. And fortunately they have a lot of longevity. These guys have 800 kilometers autonomy. And considering the range that they're going to have to travel, they're going to need it. They are definitely going to need it. So we'll be seeing those in, I don't know, a few years' time. Back to the left, Blue 4 seems to realize that Red 4 does not have a whole lot. They are carefully scouting with Bedouins and Maglan. There's more Bedouins over there, and they're locking down the field. Dorban LR in position. K50 Akula almost took out the Dorban before they were able to deploy. And once again, the Ka-50 gets hit by the Chaparral. And once again, it manages to make it out, but only just. Very, very close there. So Cheems once again manages to save his Akula. Now, it's going to be hard for Redford to come back here, because they have very little when it comes to scouting. Really, the K-52 is the only scout that they have. The command tank made it across the river. They have 2 M84As. One of them's getting spotted because it's out in the field. And there's 1 Tunguska out there. That is it. Interestingly, Blue 4 not that far ahead on points. 520 versus 495. So this could have been a hell of a lot worse. Blue 4 is, however, massing forces over here. They are looking to do a push through Alpha, where they will encounter the 2 Modernas, but one of those has already been pretty seriously damaged, and should be an easier target for infantry at this stage. Now, the elephants are still traversing the Alps over here, and they will eventually, possibly, encounter the units over there, but it's not going to be anytime soon, and even if they do, a Bardelas is only going to serve as a picket line. It's going to tell you, hold on, there is something there. And you might need to act on that. Of course, then there's the question, does Blue at that point have enough time to act? Or will Red 4 immediately roll in and take over the territory? The guys over here on Blue are coordinating, at least through text markers. And of course, I cannot read chat back. That would be nice as a feature, but unfortunately not a thing here. VDV are pretty much the only line infantry. Correction, they're the only infantry that Red 4 has left over here. If Blue 4 finds that out, they're going to roll right through this whole section. Meaning that the whole right flank of Red 4 is going to collapse too. Interestingly, Blue 4 is also doing a flank, but after Red 4's units have passed. So we got the ERC-90 and the AMX-10. Both very mobile vehicles, and once these guys get to the road, they can speed up significantly. But they will get detected by Silverback's recon force over there. So they might come into play later. Right now, Red 4 has a slight lead, 815 versus 700, but it is really shaky, and it is not likely to last, considering what we're seeing here. The M84s are rushing forward, and while doing that, coming under attack from the Abrams, the 2 Abrams, the Dorban LR. There goes 1. The M1A2 is down, thanks to the SU-27M that flies in. The Dorban LR are dead, but the Merkava 3 Baz is not particularly pleased about the loss of the ATGMs, and has taken over the ATGM role, firing one of the Lahats at the M84A, which is once again forced to withdraw. They have also set up a secondary position here with a concourse. I'm not terribly happy always with this position here, because you have these bridges which are almost all the time blocking your line of sight. Yes, you can fire through this narrow gap, but if something moves through there, and then ends up over there, you lose your line of sight. And considering that these things are guided, you will lose your missile track. So it's an okay position. It's just not that useful for when the enemy's still over there. When the enemy gets to here, it's going to be more useful, because then you can side shot them. Now, Blue Force having a bit of an uninvited barbecue over here, and it looks like the FJB are currently on the barbecue itself. A couple of these guys might make it out of the flames, but I'm not sure where their next stop would be, because the forest was the cover. And there we go. It would be interesting to see the Tunguska engage the Navy SEALs, because the Navy SEALs with their Hawk grenade launcher cannot really do that much against them. Blue Force also scouting to see what sort of response they receive. They do receive one ATGM from the Conqueror's M, so that they know there's an ATGM force in there. At this point, that's actually pretty risky for Red. Considering that Blue has all these mortars, it's pretty easy picking for them to take out the Conqueror's team. Now, for some reason they're shelling the position over here. I think they might suspect that there is a command unit in there. There is not. The command unit's over there, parked in the bushes next to the sheds in the back. The Ka-52 coming back to refuel. Is the 50 still alive? It's been a while since I've seen that thing. And I think that with the amount of run-ins with chaparrals that it's had, it's running through its 9 lives pretty quick. And it might have already expended all of them. So I think the Ka-50's been shot down, but the 52 is still out here. Not necessarily a great attack helicopter, but it can be very useful in scouting. Because if the Ka-52 can keep the Merkava lit up, then that Su-27M might come in handy. Blue 4, well, they sort of lost their momentum here. Which is interesting, because Red 4 has nothing in Charlie. Arguably, Blue doesn't really have to push if this was Conquest, which it is not. And Red 4, in a way, is now at an advantage. Because Red 4 has 1355 versus Blue's 1045, so they have a lead. And it's going to come at an increasingly large price if Blue 4 wants to push. Which would mean that Red 4 scores even more points. Looks like the Navy SEALs are chasing the Spetsnaz out of there. Tunguska has been pulled back. But Blue 4 is also breaking through on the right flank. Got Fallschirmjäger 90 coming in, Commandos 90. One Rezvedka squad has seemingly made it through unopposed. And is now taking out one of the Fuchs. It's only going to be a matter of time before the Fallschirmjäger 90 put those guys down. Yeah, here we go. The Modernas are pushing in to Fallschirmjäger 90. There goes one Martyr. Martyr is doing his level best to return fire. And now they encounter the Fallschirmjäger. These things can take a hit. The Fallschirmjäger can also take a hit. It's going to be close for these Modernas against a group like this. But if they get stunned, or worse, detract or stuck in the mud, well, then they're easy pickings. So this is excellent arty support from, I think, the Mar 290s. And, well, these guys are very vulnerable, at least one of them is. So now is the time for the Fallschirmjäger to strike, even though they're panicked. So how's Hannibal doing? Well, they're getting actually pretty close to launching an offensive on Blue 4. Keep in mind, the game has been running for about 14 minutes at this point. And all that time, these guys have not made themselves useful. So they better earn their keep by the time that they actually get to Blue 4's base. Both Modernas have survived. They're going to need substantial repair. Blue 4 has taken the forest in the middle, so they're going to lock down the positions that these Modernas have to fall back to even more. Command infantry from Cheems is falling back. Well, I guess it's just one officer. That's all that's left. And over on the left, we still have that position. Despite serious shelling from Blue 4, you can see that these buildings have seen better days. But they have not managed to take out the Conquerors. They are still scouting, slowly, carefully, not getting their units killed, but still trying to impose a bit more onto Charlie. And if they can sneak their own command unit into Charlie, that's going to deprive Red 4 of some more valuable units, or some valuable points, and thereby units. Reki is still around, says Yarnik. He's not wrong. We got a KF-16C flying over, and I think they're flying over specifically for the purpose of getting a response from the Erics over there. And they got it. So now the commandos know where they need to go. But I think the commandos at 25 are not as fast as the Erics at 30 kph. So these guys are faster. And they might be able to play hide and seek in those forests for a little while longer. Another artillery salvo from Blue 4. This time around picking off some MTLBVs. Not really sure why. But I suspect that they might have had something that was pretty valuable over there. Or at least valuable enough to warrant a response. At this point, the Bardelas has noticed that there is something here. And that works both ways. But unfortunately for the Bardelas, there are a lot more Red 4 units. Is it going to get noticed? For now, not yet. Of course, Blue 4 is going to have an advantage over here because they have a very, very short resupply route. For Red 4, it's going to be far more dangerous because these guys basically cannot get any support. The only way that they can get support is if you capture the sector and, well, you just start spawning in stuff here. But that is unlikely / highly risky. Because you still need to take out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 command units. And all the while, Blue 4 is not going to make it easy. The Erics are still out here. At this point, the Nesher is coming in. Seemingly to do a rocket pod strike. Ah, Blue 4 is aware. Yarnak has noticed that there is something happening here, and it's not good. That's Hannibal and his elephants. And they are rushing forward, because now they don't have to worry about the trees anymore. Or at least not as much. And that's when these things zip around at 150. So they're going to roll right into Blue 4's territory. Yarnak puts up another marker. Guys, we have a problem. And I imagine that the team chat is also going to be something to that tune. Now, note this unit. Command infantry inside of a transport. It's going to come in pretty soon. And they have a second one as well. So Griffith and the Sudanese People Liberation Army, they both have units ready to go. It seems that Blue 4 is a bit deprived of points, because their response is very lackluster. Yes, there are Macbeth, the Sherman, Valskomjägere, but it's going to be, well, it's going to require a bit more of a hefty response if you want to shut this area down. Especially against something like Erics. Basically good against everything, even against infantry. Unfortunately, Macbeth are also good against infantry, even though that's not necessarily the designated role. Shayatet 13 joined this fight. And it seems like, at the moment, most of Blue 4's attention is getting tied down here. They have neutralized the spawn, though. The command infantry is in there. So neither party, at this point, can really reinforce this area. A couple of recoilless rifle troops coming in here with some Scott 2s. They will probably struggle to take out the Sherman. But they don't care about the Sherman at the moment. They're just rushing forward. Trying to get as many command units killed off as possible. Their lead is still only about 300 points. But if you can start killing off command units, that lead will increase. Substantially and quickly. Cobra taking out, with the last little bit of hit points, another one of the XA-185 KTs. And there is the rest of Hannibal's forces. I keep calling him Hannibal, of course, as a reference to history. Now, over on the bottom right hand side, slash the right flank, Blue 4 has set up some, Red 4 has set up some defenses, but it's still light. Fortunately, at this point, it becomes more difficult for Red 4, or for Blue 4 to cross. Because while they have a lot of mortar support over here, and they're making use of it to actually barge right into Charlie, they don't have it here. Which means that crossing from these various forests to another, well, it's tough. Because you simply do not really have the cover. And all the while you're going to be taking machine gun fire from MTLBVs, potentially the full attention of a Tunguska. K-52 might make life difficult, well, will not make life difficult for you anymore, as it just gets taken up by the Roland. Back to Blue 4's base, where the situation for Blue 4 has deteriorated substantially. They don't have any more units. So they're going to have to pull stuff back. And this is where Blue 4's underbelly of artillery units becomes a threat. It works fantastically well if you can defend them. But they can't. Unfortunately for Red 4, their command unit got knocked out. There is a second one, but it's potentially getting threatened by the commandos which are coming up. Those might actually be the same commandos that we saw before over there. So those guys traveled a long way on foot. And this looks like it's converging. Of course, Blue 4's spawning in a lot of units and using their air assets. But Blue 4 is also down to their last command unit. So this one's going to come in pretty close. We got a CEV over here, which is terribly bad news for infantry of any make and model. And that was just 8 guys inside of one shot. Yes, they took him out, but there are a lot more Fallschirmjäger and potentially Chailletet that are now going to have a bit of a problem with the presence of the SPG-9D over there. Looks like the commandos were able to take out the command unit. Therefore, Blue 4 is still in control of the sector for the next 15 seconds or so. There we go. Sector's neutral. Blue 4 is looking to bring back a command unit. And this seemingly has also given Red 4 a bit of a reprieve over here, down on the left flank. Because this area was very heavily contested. And with attention divided, Blue 4 has to send stuff back if they want to hold on to the territory. Now, Diputs is asking, is it safe? No. It is not safe. There goes your command infantry, right in the helicopter. It's going to be a pretty rough landing, and we have no survivors, which means that that command unit did not make it back to Blue, and Blue cannot bring in more units. They still, however, might be able to kick out whatever infantry Red has. They have those, the Marder 2, the Panzergrenadier 90, Fallschirmjäger 90. But the problem will be, how does Blue get a command unit back? At the same time, however, Blue is doing something else. They're coming in with the AMX-10RC. I think the ERC 90s might have already been killed. I cannot catch everything, of course. I'm trying to divide my attention as best I can. The AMX-10 is now looking to do a little bit of hunting of its own. Unfortunately for the AMX-10, a Moderna might get a good look at it and kill it. But not before this thing can inflict some serious damage on the artillery of Red 4. And potentially command units. But no, it's the M84A that takes out the ERC... what was it? AMX-10. Not the ERC. Now, Blue 4 still has a command unit over there. They have a TACCOM over here. And that's the extent of it. That's all. Red 4, however, had to give up Charlie because they're getting pushed on a bit too much. So the command tank is currently relocating to a safer spot. You can see that it was definitely getting detected. Probably by the Navy SEALs of the Maglan. And its last known location gets bombarded by all of the mortars that Blue 4 has. What I'm a bit surprised about is that Blue 4's mortars were not being used more to neutralize any infantry in Echo. Because this could have been a pretty useful way to start wiping out some of the infantry. And yes, the infantry is pretty quick, but you can just blanket this whole town in mortar shells and see what happens. And considering that there is pretty high-end infantry in there, you might actually get quite a few points out of it too. And open up the way to get your command unit back in. Something else that those mortars could do is temporarily set up a smoke screen. Just have a smoke screen so that you can drive the command vehicle in. Once you have it in there, very quickly spawn in a new command, because you know that this forest is clear enough. And once the command unit has been spawned in, this one's probably dead, but you then can take control back of the sector. The one problem is, you need 100 points to do that, or more. And considering that Blue 4 has Fox and Delta, and had to very quickly respond to the incursion in Echo, they might not have the luxury of having 100 points in reserve. Although, they have not had control over Echo for a while now, so they might be saving up some points there. Scores are very much in favor of red now at 3880 versus blue for 3075. Blue for has taken up a position here, where previously there was just one Rozvedka, but it's not really going to do them any favors unless red 4 tries to do another push right through the Alps, but I don't think that they need to. So, both parties seem a little exhausted at this point, and potentially out of mortar shells here as well. So they're as exhausted in the sense that they have no forces, but the forces that they do have are also running a little low on supplies. Look at this. What are all of you guys going to do? Sure enough, you're going to fire at your... well, your base, I suppose? Yeah. They're blanketing the town now. Inflicting some casualties on the Erics. Putting up a smoke screen? Oh, there comes the command unit. That's the command unit from Rhaegal. Rhaegal does not seemingly have any mortars of his own, leading me to believe that he's communicating with the rest of his team. And yep, they're going to try and push that command vehicle in. It's one of the last 2 command units from blue. If they can get that guy in, they might be back in this game. Especially since red 4's infantry has been weakened. They can still take some supplies from the fob over there to get resupplied for the forces that just took a bit of mortar fire. There we go. Stop it, and captured. And here we go, blue 4 is back in the fight. Another red 4 command unit, however, is on the move. An MI4KK, a command helo. Blue 4 is spawning in quad stacks, triple stacks of units. The Air Force is back into play. Peace Pheasants and Ra'ams. Not necessarily a safe airspace, because there are a lot of Erics around. But by firing, they gave away their position. If they can nail the Peace Pheasant, though, that would be great news for red. Because it means that the Moderna and other higher-end tanks might have a bit of a safer time of well, operating down there. Now, blue 4 very quickly loses their command, but has not spawned in another command unit. What? This is Rhaegal. This is 40 points, 20 points, 60 points, 80 points. Oh, come on, Rhaegal. If you had saved a bit more, you could have gotten the CV. You guys were too quick to put the CV back in there. 45 Givati versus 14 Erics. This is going to be a rough fight. I do not expect that the Erics are going to win that. Red 4 is also pushing back here. Let's see, is that Moderna still alive? I think it is not. Just look how few units both teams have left. Yes, they got the Abrams, but it's not safe for the Abrams to push in. There's Conquerors there, there, and here. So the Abrams is pretty much locked down. I think the safest way to use this thing, and the most useful way, is just to send it back to base. And support any counteroffensive against infantry here. Blue 4 still has that one TACOM. If they can get that back, they have one last shot at this. Red 4, however, is also trying to fly in. Oh, 2 command units, in fact. One from the Sokol and one from the command helo. Bedouins are trying to shoot down the Sokol as it flies over. Oh dear. There's a Merkava 3D from Panzerfaust. CV land here. Well, maybe that's not a great idea. Nope. Oh dear. It's... Yep, down. Command helo down. Oh, sorry, yeah, command infantry down. Command helo is dead. Yep, that's the command helo. I think it might have been the Bedouins or the no, not the Berdelos. They have full ammo. And these guys cannot shoot up with our grenade launcher. It must have been the Bedouins that took out the command helo. Which means that Red 4 only has 2 command units left. The command infantry here. Oh, sorry, 3. Here, here, and here. But they don't really have a good way of transporting it. Because I don't think that Cheems has a transport helo. So they're pretty much stuck here. No, says Cheems. That was the command infantry in it. And now whatever's left on red is getting pushed hard by the Givati, the CEV, the transports, the quad stacker riflemen there. And because of all those kills, Blue 4 is back to 4,185 points, which means that they're suddenly only 200 points behind red. The last CV here, says Soft Knife, and Deeputs is moving his TACCOM back. It might now be safe enough to get back to base. Unfortunately, I don't know if Adjan, or Adian, what is it? Adian 7. If he can get the Fuchs over here, he can transport the TACCOM back to base faster. Otherwise, they're just going to have to stroll around at their 20 kilometer pace. It's going to take them a bit longer, but Red Fort doesn't really have anything to threaten them with. There is still a little bit of time left. Do we have anything that can reach out and touch that command unit? I'm not even sure if Red Fort is capable of spotting it at this point. What is this? Huh. Oh. Well, this is a mutual trap. The Chaparral can't move. But it does have missiles. This one can move, but if the Chaparral finds it, it's going to get knocked out. So the only way that it has to go is north. But unfortunately, there's nothing left over here that needs resupplying. XA 185 KT, panicked and everything, and getting knocked out by the Messiah At. Push, guys, says Soft Knife. Yeah, with what? A sniper team is being moved forward. They are sniping, what, the Chumat? Egg Hunter knows that there's something out there, and the Abrams is going to take a look. Unfortunately, Blue 4 does not have reconnaissance, so they can't see it. Oh, look at this. 24 VP just goes right over the Abrams. Nordy says, be careful with that. Deeputs is also concerned about it. And the Mi-24 just ignores everything. There's no anti-air threats. So, guess what we found? Damn. And Red 4 trying to take it out. Immediately, Blue 4 starts putting up smoke screen. That's really well done over there. But it's not enough. And Red 4 takes it out. Very, very close call there. 4220 versus 6,855. I'm not sure exactly when they got all these points, because I don't think it was in the last few minutes, but it got really, really close there. Hold on, does the game suddenly attribute all the kills when you have won the game? Because you can only get to 5,000 points. Or the last command unit, and that's what they got. Look at the kills, 4220. I don't understand this. I think that this was changed in a patch, because I've never seen this before. Anyway, lesson here, going over the Alps works. So long as you don't use elephants, but motorized transports. They work a little better, and they get there quite a bit faster. Hope you guys enjoyed the battle. Let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comments. Cheems, thank you for sending it in. And thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you soon for another video.